Welcome back to the Sports Complex on a Monday afternoon. On the show today, we will get in to some national championship volleyball. Another good win by the Texas Longhorn men's basketball team. Some new additions to Texas football that are coming in strong and fast today. Those are coming in. We'll also get in to a little bit more. We're going to start talking a little bit more this week about Texas and Washington in the Sugar Bowl. Patrick's Big Fat Poll today, some NBA talk. The Spurs finally break that long losing streak. And, of course, some NFL talk. Myself and Jacob both very upset yesterday for different reasons. We'll get into all of that. And, of course, your text messages, 512-447-3776. 512-447-3776 is the text line. You guys drive the show. We just try to keep it on the rails. Appreciate everybody tuning in. My name is Patrick Davis. With me across the way, there is Jacob Standard. I would ask you how your weekend was, but I have a feeling I know how your weekend was.
No, go ahead and ask me.
Other than Sunday afternoon, how was your weekend?
My weekend was great. Even Sunday afternoon, man. It's the holidays. I have no time to be upset right now. Absolutely none.
I love the positivity. We're going to get an NFL in the 5 o'clock hour.
You know me, man. Just a ray of sunshine.
We'll see if that positivity continues in the 5 o'clock hour. I love it, though. I love the positivity. I get it. I was watching the game. I was not thrilled with some of the games I was watching for different reasons.
Oh, there were games this weekend?
There were some games this weekend.
I must have missed it. I was having too much holiday joy.
You were having too much holiday joy. We can say on Saturday, though, there was some really good news for the University of Texas as the volleyball team goes on to repeat as national champions, defend their national championship in a sweep against Nebraska in the finals. Just pretty dominant. It started off a little close in that first set, and then after they kind of pulled out and won that first set, it looked like Texas was able to just kind of control the momentum for the rest of the match.
Yeah, Madison Skinner and Asia O'Neal doing their thing, man. It really is entertaining to watch them just be so much better than everyone else on the court. It seems like they can do whatever they want, whenever they want to do it.
Yeah, and it was a great win to see them get another national championship, and that everybody was celebrating. The tower got lit with the big one on it.
Did you hear how they did it? They had to do it manually, so there was an electrical issue. It was getting some electrical work done, so they had to go floor by floor and adjust the windows and light it manually.
Hey, you know what? You got to do what you got to do.
You got to do it
when the team comes through and gets a national championship. There was some shade thrown after it by the Nebraska head coach.
Oh, did he say anything?
He's apparently the Dabo Sweeney of volleyball and upset that there's change and that things have moved on and there's transfers now, and he does things the right way, though.
Grow up.
But I'll tell you, Texas seems to do things the right way because if you're going to look in the history books, they will not say Nebraska second place but did it the right way.
But did it the right way.
They will not be in there. It'll be Texas is your defending national champions at volleyball. So it was great to see that win, to watch that, within the NFL schedule to have that on a Sunday and great win on ABC. Great to see that.
So do we have to put asterisks next to national champions now? Has transfers on the team? Do we have to?
I'm pretty sure. I bet they have transfers on the team.
Oh,
they just don't have as many. I couldn't tell you.
Not Nebraska. They don't have Nebraska. No, they do things the right way.
They do things the right way. Yeah, what an idiot. And look, I guarantee he's going to go in the transfer portal and try and get some people right now too. He'll go and try and do it because everybody does it, and then you lost out in the transfer portal. And
I bet he wanted Maddie Skinner when she was in the transfer portal.
You look at them. They got 4th and 5th year seniors. Well, did they have them last year when they won it?
Yeah.
I mean, well, okay, but
they beat us, so I don't like it.
I don't like it. It's just bad. It's bad form to have sour grapes, and it's the one thing that coaches need to keep remembering about the transfer portal is they love a 21-year-old that is at their program. A 21-year-old that is transferred is now a 45-year-old man and can take all the slander in the world.
Just you can go drag him through the mud. Yeah.
I'll never get why all of a sudden it's okay to criticize these kids the second they're gone. But if you criticize them while they're not transfers, then that's a terrible thing that every reporter should be taken out for. It's just a weird thing that these coaches have. Also, Texas basketball beats LSU, and it was a pretty dominant win by Texas. They had a really dominant first half, came back in the second half, played pretty well in that second half as well. We saw the return of Dylan Dessou in this game, which was a much welcomed debut for him this season. 17 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists in the game. He goes 4 for 8 from the field, 9 of 9 from the free throw range. Was able to get underneath, and Texas wins the game. Texas gets a win 96-85. They led basically the entire game. They scored with 51 seconds in the first quarter, and then 50 seconds in, and never trailed the entire game. Was able to play good enough defense against the LSU team. And this is a matchup where you see it, where this is a matchup against another Power 5 team. And while they're not a great Power 5 team, they're another Power 5 team. So the teams you've been playing that are not, the Houston Christians and all those schools, and I believe you have Texas A&M, Corpus Christi coming up. Those are schools that are coming at you, and this is this circled on their schedule.
Hey, take it easy on the Islanders. All right.
No, but I'm just saying it's circled on their schedule. For LSU, I don't think this game was really circled. I think they wanted to have a good matchup against a ranked team.
Sure.
But it's not the be-all, end-all. They basically had one player that decided to go all out on it. Jordan Wright had 33 points and really played a good game for LSU. But other than that, Texas was able to get their job done. You're able to go inside. This was not Caden Shedrick's best game. He only played 18 minutes. You could see he was kind of trying to adapt to Dylan Disu being on the court, and now that it is Dylan Disu's team, that he's coming back, that he was the star of the March Madness until he got hurt last year, that I think that they were kind of, he was letting it go a little bit and saying, okay, let me, work with him.
Right.
As opposed to him coming in and me being the big dog. And so he stepped off a little bit. He went 2 for 6. So, he's going to have to improve. They're going to have to figure out how to work together. You've still got 2 more non-conference games or 3 more non-conference games until you get to conference play. On January 6th against Texas Tech, I believe, is when you start conference play. So you still have a little bit of time to get there.
They'll get that figured out. Yeah.
But you did see some things you like to see. Their field goal percentage this game was 54%. So while LSU is not a great defensive team, they were able to hit shots. Tyrese Hunter went 8 for 11 in the game. That is a very welcome sight. And something else you like to see in this, they shot three-pointers. They shot 50%, but I think the bigger number is they only shot 23s. They were able to go inside. They were able to attack around the basket. And you want to see that more as this Texas team progresses throughout the season, because if you're not shooting a high percentage of three-pointers, and you're not, you have to find the ones that are going to be good shots, that are the right player and the right time to take them. And you let Max Abmas go. He takes 9 of the 23s. He takes 9 of them, hits 4. Brock Cunningham goes 3 of 4. If he shoots that percentage, then you're always going to be looking pretty good.
That's all you need from him too.
But you didn't have anybody else. Tyrese Hunter went 2 for 4 and 3, but a lot of other guys shot 1. Kendall Weaver, by the way, another good game from Kendall Weaver. Really playing himself. He's going to play himself into some more minutes as the season goes on. I think you wanted to see Chris Johnson kind of get some more of those minutes, because he is a freshman that could be a difference maker, but he's going to have to prove himself on the defensive end. We know what he can kind of do offensively. Right now, Kendall Weaver is energy personified, coming off the defensive end, going up for shots, and sometimes he gets a little out of control.
Yeah.
But when you talk about someone coming off the bench to bring energy and bring defense when your team maybe he's getting a little tired and maybe things aren't going your way, you didn't hit a couple shots, and you need someone to come in. You don't always need a guy to come in and just start lighting it up offensively.
No, you just need somebody with spark, any kind of spark.
And so I think that's where you're going to see IT Horton only played 13 minutes. He didn't hit his shots. I think IT Horton's coming in for offense. If he doesn't hit, then you're going to see Kendall Weaver take a lot of those minutes up, because he can play defense, and he's going to run down the court and space the floor for you as well on those fast breaks, where he's either going to be pulling a guy and getting ahead of you running. He's just going to be an important part for them in the sense of, if IT Horton's hitting coming off the bench, then he's going to be the guy.
Right.
He will continue to progress, and they'll put him in, because if he can hit threes, he can shoot well, he'll play good enough defense, but his offense will be there to carry him.
Sure.
But if he misses like he did, he went 0 for 1 from 3, 0 for 3 from the field. He didn't get to the free throw line. He's just kind of got to get a little bit more comfortable playing with this Texas team as well. I think the fact that, they did have 2 bigs and at least 2 or 3 bigs in all time kind of made it a little bit more clunky in the middle.
Right.
And, he wasn't getting the open shots that he was normally used to getting. They weren't doubling off him as much. Dylan Mitchell still gets 12 points with the return of Dylan Disu, which you like to see. So there was a lot of positives to get in this. I think when you kind of look at it at the end of the day, they didn't necessarily statistically blow LSU out of the water at any point, but they just outplayed them.
They controlled the game.
Took some better shots and hit some better shots, controlled the pace of the game. Dylan Disu coming back is huge for this Texas team, though. As 3 more games to kind of get him into shape and get him where you need him to be. He's clearly not 100. You can still see there's points where he kind of was favoring the foot maybe and those types of things. And we've always said he always looks like the baby deer. He still has that in him that he just kind of looks a little clunky at points.
A little uncoordinated.
And uncoordinated, but he works. It's what Dylan Disu does. I mean, he's able to get down there and hit those shots. He had that one flotation station that turned into an alley-oop.
Hey.
And you were like, I don't know if that was an assist. I mean, it is because I believe Dylan Mitchell was the one who got on the other side and dunked it.
Right. No, it does go in the books as an assist, but you're like, were you trying to pass that?
I think you were shooting because that looked like the flotation station shot from last year, and he just pushed it too hard. But it worked. And I think that'll be one that even if they look in film and go, well, that was a shot, like, let's work on that, because if they're doubling off of you when you turn around with that and you go up and you see the double and you see the other guys open, throw it up. And if it's Shedrick or it's Dylan Mitchell, just cut to the basket and get that easy bucket.
Still counts for 2 points.
Exactly. And it's an easier shot now because he doesn't have to hit one in double coverage. He has to throw it near the rim.
Right.
And you'll go up there and grab it and dunk it down.
Give it a little bit of pace.
Possibly something we'll see going forward. We'll see what Rodney Terry does, but it was good to see them on a neutral floor in Houston. The Halal Guys tournament.
What?
It was the Halal Guys tournament. It was good to see him on a neutral floor. It was good to see Tyrese Hunter hit some shots. We know he's going to be a streaky shooter. We had not seen him do this, though. But I think after that Marquette game, where he went back to Milwaukee and, he went back to where it was kind of his place, and he thought he was going to have a good game and just really stunk the joint out on that one, did not play well.
Put up a dud.
He needed a bounce-back game, was able to get it in this one, and it's a huge difference. I believe he won an MVP, too, which was a giant
good for him.
Chain necklace thing that's
sweet.
No, it's not.
That's sweet.
No. I'm gonna show you the picture.
I'm all about big, ridiculous hardware.
I'm gonna show you the picture. It's silliness.
Oh,
it's just silliness.
Even better.
But yeah, good on the Longhorns for the win there. And yeah, I believe they have 3 more games that are kind of against lesser opponents.
Except the Islanders. The Islanders are gonna give them fits.
Give them fits.
Yes, and for those of you listening, yes, I did go to Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Those are my Islanders. That's the one time I will break my allegiance to Texas.
You're going to be rooting hard for him.
I am.
Is that game Friday or Saturday?
I'll have to look it up.
All right. That's how much he's a big fan of the Islanders.
Hey, we made the tournament last year. Okay?
I know it's Friday or Saturday that we'll be playing them.
All right.
We do want to talk some football, too, for Texas, because it was a big day on the 40 acres for football today. Yesterday, Matthew Golden was able to come back from Houston, the wide receiver. He had 7 receptions for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns against Texas this year.
Oh, yeah.
So you remember him. And I remember talking, and me and Rob Babers and Aaron Hogan, we all talked about, man, this seems like a Sark guy.
Right.
This is a guy that seems like that. He's he's going into a junior season. He's going to be a big impact. He is transferring to Texas, has announced his commitment to Texas. His average drop this season, I think that was a little bit more of just that team not being as good and going into the Big 12 as well. The defense stepped up on them. His average went from 15 yards a game, 15 yards per catch to 10 yards per catch. I think in Sark's offense, you'll see it boost back up again to about that 15.
That big play receiver.
And to be a big play receiver. We know what he can do, big body guy. He's able to do a lot of things. So it's really good to see him come in. Then today, we get 2 new people coming in, both in the secondary, both going to be able to help out. One very soon. That we get Andrew Makuba from the safety out of Clemson.
Tampering.
He's a 3-year starter from Clemson. He went to LBJ. He's coming back home to Texas. He is going to be the starter there. An automatic help for them next season. Where there is some attrition in that safety position. And
he gets to see his high school coach. It's a little familiar for him.
Yeah. No, but he gets to come back to Texas. His family will be at the games. It's going to be a fun time. Maybe where he didn't necessarily, maybe want to go to the SEC, or maybe it was whatever the reason, he's going to be in the SEC now, playing in a big conference.
Well, maybe he felt like an outsider over there at Clemson, too. I mean, that's far away from where he grew up.
No, and I mean, and Clemson isn't the same Clemson they were a couple years ago.
Not by any means.
So, he wanted to come over, so great to see him come in. And Xavier Filsaime as well, right before we came on the air, he has announced his commitment. A flip that he was committed to Florida. He has announced that he has flipped his commitment to Texas. Another 5-star safety that is going to be coming in for Texas. So another big piece of that secondary that is, Texas kind of working on that and building it up. They started trying to build the line. They're still trying to keep that line fortified, but they knew they needed help in that secondary, especially with some guys leaving this offseason. And 2 big gets for them today with Mukubu and Filsaime.
I've seen some reports of people writing articles that Texas might have one of the best secondary rooms in the nation coming up for the talent they have coming in.
That's
projected.
what you need.
That's huge.
And that's
huge.
That's really what you need if you're Texas. You need to keep improving on that because you're going to try and keep building up. But if you want to get to those places that their elite defenses, which is what PK is trying to build, you can't have that.
No, you stack talent on talent.
And you can't have the gap of, we can make them one-dimensional.
Right.
We can make them one-dimensional, but that one dimension, they could be real, real good.
But that one dimension, they're probably going to beat us with it. Yeah, no, you need to be able to shut down everything.
I do want to talk a little bit about Texas and Washington, too, before we go to break.
Okay.
Because, and this kind of plays into it, because Texas tries to make teams one-dimensional. And Texas tries to not be one-dimensional, ever be made into a one-dimensional team.
Yeah.
And as we start to look at this Texas-Washington game, the first thing I kind of want to look at, because I think it is going to be a pivotal part of this game. I think there's several pivotal parts that you kind of have to look at what Texas has to do and what Washington has to do. I think the running games for both these teams, because if we look at last season's Alamo Bowl,
okay,
and we look at one of the things that really, really hurt Texas in that game was Bijan and Roschon being gone, them Sark basically just handing the ball off to Keelan Robinson, and the running game not really working the way it needed to for that offense to work.
Yeah, everybody was really scared that Texas wasn't going to be able to run the ball at all this season.
Because of that, and a lot of it's because of Alamo Bowl against Washington.
Right.
So Texas needs to fix their running game. And for Washington's side, we'll start there for a second, that Washington, they basically have one running back that they're going to. Where Texas, Jonathan Brooks is out, but they still have a plethora in a running back room. And different options.
Stack talent on talent.
For Washington, you're really going to worry about Dillon Johnson. He basically had 201 carries this year, 19 receptions. He didn't carry the ball a ton in the beginning of the year. But I think as the season kept going on, as you get further into the season, you realize you need to have more and more of a run game. They find that he is the guy. He's able to get the most. He runs in a way that's favorable to their offense because it is not necessarily an explosive. He's going to carry the ball 5 times and get 10 yards on one and 3 on 2 on the others.
Right.
And it averages out, and you go, well, he averaging 4 yards a carry.
Yeah.
You say, well, no, but it's all one play. He is much more of an average. He is a downhill runner. He's going to get through. He likes to run inside. He likes to go get after. Goes to get after it. He's a 1,000-yard rusher this season as well. So he falls into that category. He had 152 yards against Oregon and 2 touchdowns.
Oh, yeah.
He had a huge game against USC. And in some of the games where we see where he really started to take over was after that Arizona State game for Washington this year, where it was the closest game. It was their lowest scoring game. And he basically was not used very much. I think 8 carries in that game and did not have a big game at all.
8 carries for 6.
Yeah, so it didn't have that. So this for Texas, you cannot be made to be one-dimensional. You have to have your running game. You're going to have to figure out the way to go out there. But Texas has the advantage in this. Dillon Johnson for Washington is not necessarily an electric outside runner.
Right.
Which is something that you may be able to get a little bit more on Texas on. Michael Penix Jr. is not a electric outside running quarterback. Now, he's probably going to run the ball a couple of times against Texas solely in the fact.
He's probably an athlete.
Well, yeah. And if you can get outside and you can make them respect you, because what it feels like in this game, where the more you look at the running back and how Dillon Johnson likes to run and how they're going to try and go, that they don't necessarily need to help out a lot in the running game if Dillon Johnson is the main back and he's going to be coming up the middle because he doesn't have breakaway speed. So you should be able to get, a linebacker on him or, an edge should be able to get to him. You should be going up the front. Now you're going to have to continue to be strong against a really good O-line of Washington. But if you're able to slow down Dillon Johnson and put him in to where you were able to put Ollie Gordon at the end of the season for Oklahoma State, where you just kind of took him out of the game, I don't know if this Washington team in the second half is going to go back to it.
Yeah, so that's what's kind of interesting to me. Just to kind of further your point on his usage rate, after week 3 when they played Cal, he had 10 carries. After that, he doesn't have less than 16, and they were blowing people out with the exception of that Arizona State game that you mentioned. 8 carries for 6 yards. Washington scored 15 total points. And luckily for the Longhorns, if he tries to do that, they have a really big friendly monster in the middle that wants to give him a hug really bad.
Yeah, and they have 2. They have 2 because Byron Murphy's there too.
Right, he's no chump either.
Yeah, and so this is something that when we're looking at this game for Texas and Washington, watching what they're going to be able to do with Dillon Johnson. If you're able to take him out of the game and allow yourself to put more people in coverage and put yourself more people to stop the play and more pressure on these wide receivers, that even if they're going to be able to go down and get in front of you and get some of those catches and those bend but don't break plays that Texas allows in this secondary, they happen. You're going to make them not be able to get the huge plays over the top because you can put another guy back. Those safeties don't necessarily have to help out in the run game as much, which will be huge for Texas. So it allows you to play a little bit more risky on your guys and play a little bit closer up on your wide receivers with your DBs. It also allows Texas to scare the receivers just a little bit more because you're allowed to have a linebacker rotating out there in the middle of the field.
Oh, yeah.
That linebacker is waiting on the pass, and he's not worried about necessarily, Dillon Johnson. He's shown a little explosiveness in the passing game, but he's only got 19 receptions this year. It's not like they're using him as a huge back out of the backfield. A couple other guys have a couple catches well in the backfield. They may try and use some other guys, but Dillon Johnson's really been their guy.
And it seems to me like he might be the secret piece to their scheme. Because if you look at like both games against Oregon, 20-plus carries, and that was some of their biggest point totals of the season. The USC game, like you mentioned, 26 carries. That's easily their biggest point total of the season. So I'm curious if T'Vondre Sweat shuts that down and along with Byron Murphy, I'm curious how the scheme of their offense changes.
And it puts it into the, okay, well, if we were able to slow this down and we were able to put them in passing downs, Dillon Johnson also not the best pass protector in the world either. And he's good enough for a college level, but not good enough for a pro level pass protector. So if you want to say that this is somebody that now it allows you to pass rush a little bit more as well, because you're not as worried about the run play happening and getting blown up and losing him, and rush those edges or rush a linebacker or rush somebody else and try and make Michael Penix Jr. make a mistake or get it out early and don't let him get it downfield, especially on, short-fire passing downs. The real key is if you're able to make Dylan Brooks not as effective in the first half.
Dylan Johnson,
if you're making him not as effective in the first half, is it going to be able to make them get away from it in the second half? And we know that Oklahoma State kind of got away from it. Texas Tech didn't, and that's why Taj Brooks still had close to 100 yards against Texas.
They also lost by 50.
They did, but they kept running the ball, and that's the only reason they had any yards.
Yeah.
Dillon Johnson, do they try to continue to run the ball in the second half if Texas is able to shut it down, or do they just go straight to the passing game? We know that that's something else we have to talk about this week. Can Michael Penix Jr. win this by himself? And with the wide receivers, can the passing game win it by themselves?
That one will be interesting to get into because I was at the Kansas State game where Kansas State was known as a rushing team. And when rushing didn't work, they turned into a straight drop back spread offense, throw the ball around, and they started moving the ball on Texas with relative ease.
There it is. And we'll get into that a little bit later this week. But there is something else to be said about that you have a month to game plan for Washington throwing the football.
Right.
And I think this is the reason why I bring up running backs first, is because I think this is an edge where Texas has, where they don't have to spend a ton of time. Now, the bigger question for Texas running the ball is, okay, how much do we use each of our guys? How much do we use Keelan Robinson in the passing game? How much do we use him in the red zone? He was doing pretty well in the red zone for them. Do we use Savion Red at points in this game? Is it Jaden Blue? Are we trying to get him some explosive plays on the outside? We know C.J. Baxter is going to get used a ton in this game as well. But I think you have more options, and the question more for the offense is how much do you run the ball outside? How much do you run it inside? How much do you try and get the explosive play from the running back core? How much you run each guy to kind of change it up and don't allow them to get comfortable.
Get a beat on what you're doing.
And, the more you switch out your running backs for Texas, the more it makes the defense harder for them to figure out what the offense is doing. So Texas has a huge edge in this battle because you have T'Vondre Sweat on one side and because you have a running back room with 4 guys who have done well in the last 2 or 3 weeks now that Jonathan Brooks is out.
And they all do different things. They all present different problems.
Yes. And so for me, this is something that when we start looking at this game, we start looking at the probables and things that can help out Texas. This does seem like it's going to be a higher scoring game, that this game could turn into a shootout at a point. And a lot of people, when they look at a shootout, don't think, oh, man, Texas, the running game is so important in a shootout. But it is, because the running game is to give your defense a little break and run the clock for just a little bit in time of possession.
And that's what starts a shootout. That's what gets them to come downfield and try to stop it, and all of a sudden you're behind them. I mean, it's 4 or 5 6-yard runs in a row turns into a 70-yard bomb down the field every time. And
so for Texas, you're looking at this one, and Dillon Johnson, who's doing really well. He's been doing great, but how much of this is against Pac-12 defenses?
Oh.
And how much of this, when you can go into it and see what Texas has been able to do to elite running backs in the Big 12, what can they do to Dillon Johnson? That, to me, is this is our kind of a Monday as we start to get into it. We're going to talk a lot more about NFL and everything. And as we get later in the week, we'll do more Texas football. But this is not a big one because there's not a lot of discussion about the running backs, right? There is Dylan Johnson's a good running back, but he's kind of falls directly into what Texas wanted to do. And now you look at with a month to prepare, they put one of their other guys out there.
Oh, they'll have some tendency breakers.
And you have to.
They definitely
You have
will.
to.
Yeah.
But how much can they work against Texas, and how much are you able to let those up? And at the end of the day, how much you have to change your offense from the regular season to try and win a game. If you're the higher seed, you should be trying to do what you want to do. And we know Sark, that's kind of his thing. I want to win football Texas way.
Yeah, we do things our way.
Now, that can hurt you in points. It's hurt him this point in seasons when they when Houston ran slants against Texas and we wouldn't change up what we were doing. That can hurt us at points. But at the same point in this game, I feel like Texas, has an advantage in running. We want to run the ball. We feel like we can do it against Washington. We feel like we can get on the edge and get to the outside, and then we can come back inside and make them have to shift kind of personnel and how they're thinking about stopping the run game, put more personnel onto it, and then throw it over the top of you when you do.
Yeah. Well, and Sark's not afraid to switch it up either because towards the end of the season, he turned Jay Witt into a little bit of a deep threat whenever he needed him.
Yep.
He would sneak him in on that shallow under and then send him screaming upfield on the seam.
That's it. All right, let's do the Big Patrick's Big Fat Poll of the day. We're going to talk more Texas and Washington all week long, get into it some more next week, and then we'll be right at game time on January 1st, which none of us can wait for.
Patrick's Big Fat Poll of the day on the Horn.
All right, let's start it off because we talk about the running game, and we know Texas has had issues in the red zone, but we've now seen that Texas start to figure out some of those red zone issues, start to use some other guys. When they were just trying to run the ball up the middle with Jonathan Brooks, it didn't necessarily always work, but now you have C.J. Baxter who's gotten through and got some big plays. You have Keelan Robinson who's been using this red zone. And then you also have a guy like Jaden Blue who can break some big ones. And you have a lot of different options. Savion Red using the Red Cat as well. That's just to mention the running backs.
Right.
Wide receivers could be in this play. We could have a lot of different options. But my question for you today, text line's open, 512-447-3776. Who will score the most touchdowns in the Sugar Bowl? And I'll say for Texas. If you want to be and say it's going to be
contrarian,
Dylan Johnson, or what, and we're not going to say Quinn Ewers or Michael Penix Jr. either.
That's easy
because we're saying
unless you want to count rushing.
Unless you want to say rushing, but 4 passing touchdowns is not what I mean.
Right?
Who's going to be walking into the end zone?
T'Vondre Sweat. Once on defense, once on offense, baby. T'Vondre Sweat.
So that's it. Who will score the most touchdowns in the Sugar Bowl for Texas? Is it going to be? And we're not saying quarterback, so no Quinn Ewers in this. Do you think it's going to be a wide receiver? Do you think it's going to be a running back? Who do you think it's going to be? Tell us on the text line, 512-447-3776. If you want to tell us why, too, we always appreciate that. We're going to take a quick break. We come back, we'll get into a little NBA talk and start to get to your text messages here on the Sports Complex on the Horn 1019 AM 1260, the Horn app, and hornfm.com. Back on the sports complex here on the Horn. Musical theme of the week, just some interesting, fun, different Christmas songs for you as we get to Christmas next week. This is a classic. It's Clarence Carter back in the day.
Wow.
Clarence Carter back in the day, doing Backdoor Santa. Solid song. It's a great song. If you don't know Backdoor Santa, this is a solid song from Clarence Carter. Clarence Carter also of Strokin' fame.
Oh, all right.
Clarence Carter's the best.
Welcome to the week.
We'll get you into that. We have some different songs. So if you need to spice up your Christmas playlist, I know a lot of people kind of keep it, pretty. I have a more diverse Christmas playlist. So I'm gonna play some of those.
I like it. I'm here for it.
Kind of get you in the mood. Look, I'm still not in Christmas mode at all. We're a week away. I've done most of my shopping.
Okay.
I've got it done, but just because I've been busy and doing everything else, I don't feel like I'm in the mood at all.
Yeah.
Not in there, so I'm trying to play some music to you.
Okay, well, let's work on that. Let's get you in the Christmas spirit this week. I mean, we're almost there. We're right there on it.
We are getting pretty good. We're a week away.
Yeah.
Which feels like it does not feel like a week away. I don't know why. But then I think it's just me getting older, too. That every year I'm like, it doesn't feel like it. I'm like, yeah, because I'm not going to get anything. And that was kind of the whole great part about Christmas, wasn't it?
Oh, come on.
That whole great part about Christmas when you were a kid was like, I get a bunch of stuff. You get time off and a bunch of stuff. And now it's like,
super excited.
I don't get a ton of time off anymore. And I don't get much stuff, which I'm not complaining.
You get 3 days. 3 days.
I do get 3 days off. I had 3 extra days off, which is, great. It's great. But that's what we get into. Big fat poll today. Text line's open. Who will score the most touchdowns in the Sugar Bowl for Texas? We're not saying Quinn Ewers, unless you say he's going to run the ball in like 3 times. But we're saying people actually crossing the goal line to score these touchdowns who we're talking about. We'll get that on the text line. Let's talk a little NBA, though, before we get to the text line, Jacob.
Okay.
And let's get into a couple stories from the Warriors over the weekend that came out. First, the Warriors are an interesting team as they have been, a dynasty in basketball for the last few years. Then everybody felt the dynasty was over, and they won another championship. And now it really, really feels like this may be the end of the dynasty. And one of those pieces is Steph Curry's 3-point streak. He had 200-something games, so 268 games.
Yeah, so how many is that? 3.5 straight seasons?
Yeah, that he had not missed it. He had a 3-pointer in every single game for that amount of time. He then misses, goes, or doesn't hit a shot in the game over the weekend. He is now had to reset that.
Yep. And
the conversations are now starting for people that have short attention spans and can't last long for things. That are they now going to waste away? Is Golden State going to waste the end of Steph Curry's prime years?
Come on.
Because of what's happening with Draymond, what's happening with Klay Thompson not playing as well, the fact they have not developed their young talent, and they were able to draft James Wiseman, and they basically gave him away because they couldn't develop him, and he wasn't the right pick. Kuminga's playing okay, but he's not getting a ton of playing time. Wiggins not having his best year. You also have Moses Moody, who can play some offense but can't play any defense, and people are starting to worry about this team, about Golden State, and they're just an interesting team to watch until we get into kind of the second half of the season, if they can turn it around. One of those pieces, we also found out that Draymond Green, who got an indefinite suspension, is working with the NBA and Adam Silver. He said he's going to start counseling. He started counseling today. But we thought this may be one of those things where it's like, I'm going to counseling, like the John Morant counseling that I think lasted like 5 games.
I don't think so. I think something, because Draymond's always been a little annoying, but something is seriously wrong this time.
He's not as good at basketball anymore.
I agree, but I don't know. I tend to think there's more to it, even though I would like to think it's just Draymond being Draymond. I think he's seeking real help for real issues this time around.
I think he's trying to seek help as well, because I honestly believe there's some other stuff, but I think he wants to be better at basketball again. And he thinks, well, if I get counseling, maybe it's mental. Maybe it's a mental block
could be.
Why I can't hit threes. And you're like, well, you never was a good 3-point shooter. Maybe it's a mental block why I'm slower. No, you're older.
Nobody let Patrick talk to Draymond. He does not need this right now.
No, because he beat the crap out of me. That man hits people on a whim. But he is now, the report is expected at least out 3 weeks.
Yep.
That apparently is starting counseling, that they've talked and basically said you're not going to be able to accomplish anything in 2 weeks. And the reason I brought is I believe it was John Morant was the one that they were like, he's going to start counseling, and then was back like a week later. You're like, what did they go through in a week where they're like, hey man, you got to start bringing guns around. He's like, you're right, I've changed.
He's like,
like, when you're watching an episode of TV and you're like, there's no way they wrap this up in like 3 more minutes. And then they do.
Jaws is weirder though, because he was telling on himself.
Here's the difference though. John Morant is a younger man.
Yes.
So John Morant is just young and dumb,
right?
And he's had a ton of success and a ton of fame and a ton of people around him, and making mistakes because he just doesn't know any better.
Yeah, Draymond's been around the block a couple times.
Draymond has had these issues for years, and they're getting worse now.
That's the
as opposed to they were worse and then got better.
Yep.
He is now they're extending. It's just happening more and more and more common. So that's a little bit different. But now they're saying out 3 weeks. So this is Draymond. When he comes back, we're assuming he'll be back in January.
Yep.
But he could take longer than that. He is. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if there's a point in this where they reach a mediation with the Warriors to give him some of his game money.
If he only punches one player per game
for
the rest of the season, can he come back and play?
No, it's not. I don't, because I think the 3 weeks is plenty long enough suspension for Draymond Green.
Yeah, because he's not getting paid, right?
It's millions of dollars.
Right.
That's a big penalty.
Yeah.
And we've seen, and we'll talk more about John Morant tomorrow because he's coming back to play tomorrow.
Woo.
And he's talked about how it sucks. It really sucks that when all you want to do is go play basketball and you work so hard to get to a point, and then you're watching your team suck out there. It's difficult because you're like, I could help.
Right.
I can't get in, and I screwed it up. So we'll see but Draymond Green, that's big news that it's out 3 weeks, because I really thought it was going to be a week and a half to 2 weeks.
So do you think they're wasting the end of Steph Curry? Is the dynasty done for sure?
I think they should have sold. I think they should have, as soon as they won that last championship, blown up the team.
Really?
Like blown it up hard, because you were already well past your window at that point.
You got one.
And you got another one out. There's no way you're repeating after that.
Yeah.
So just say, all right, get rid of everybody, start over, keep Steph Curry, and you have a bunch of young guys, some picks. You are able to come out of this and go, let's get some healthier guys in here. Let's try and reset this.
How do you possibly sell that to your fan base? That we're blowing up the team that just won a championship, the team that you love, the dynasty that we built for you.
Draymond Green punches Jordan Poole, and you all go, cool, yeah, he punched a guy in practice. And you spin the narrative the other way that this team is become. And then Klay Thompson, you let him talk for 5 minutes, and everybody will be like, yeah, this guy's a jerk.
Yeah.
This guy, his dad's an NBA player, and he's like, I've had to work so hard. We're like, we get you worked hard to get where you're at, but you're also genetically gifted to be able to do this.
Well, he's talking about coming back from the injury.
I get it, but there's a point where he's not also the most humble person in the world.
No, he is not.
So if you were the Warriors, you could spin it real easy getting rid of those two guys. People would be mad about it, but you could spin, like, neither one of those guys are necessarily the most likable people.
That's fair.
They're not guys where you're like, oh man, it's such a shame. Like Manu Ginobili. Like, you could spin getting rid of Tony Parker on the Spurs.
Whoa.
You could have spun it because you would have gone like, look, he's sleeping with other people's wives. You would have gone, all right, we get it. But Manu Ginobili, you couldn't, because Manu Ginobili is just such a likable person.
Sure, I get that.
So that's what I'm saying, is the likable people versus, like, you couldn't spin getting rid of Steph.
No, absolutely not.
And
you could never.
And so that's where I've got, and I get some people like Klay Thompson a lot, and some people like Draymond Green a lot. I get that. I'm just saying, overall, they're not the most likable people in the world.
I get
because
that.
they come off, they're cocky because they've earned it.
Yeah, no doubt.
And they feel that they have every right to be cocky about it. So, they've done more than I could done, so they can be cocky as they want to be. But if you want to spin it however you can spin it, I would have blown it up then. I mean, Bob Myers clearly left the team. Like, their GM left because he knew he was too late. He couldn't fix it.
He's like, oh no.
So I'm saying, if you were going to stick around, I would have gone, yeah, blow it up, because there's two options, which is one is we're going to fade away and it's just going to go away, and then we're going to hope. But we already got the draft picks. Like, you already got the point where you got all those draft picks that you made great trades for and were able to bring guys in, and you just haven't been able to make those guys work. But that's how the Spurs won their last one was Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
You got really lucky, or that Spurs dynasty would have flamed out well before it did, but they ended up getting a future MVP.
Who later stabbed the city in the back.
He did. He did. But speaking of the Spurs, they did get a finally victory, ended their 18-game losing streak.
Did they?
They were playing the Lakers on Friday. They won 129-115. Anthony Davis was out, so the Spurs were able to get to the paint and score at will. LeBron James had an okay game in it, but it was... And then reality was Devin Vassell went off in that game. 36 points from Devin Vassell. He is kind of a real big piece for this Spurs team that you can tell when he's shooting well and scoring well, this team can go, and now everybody else can get shots because you're having to focus over on Devin Vassell more, and you're double teaming on Devin Vassell, and it gets Victor Wembanyama more one-on-ones where he can go and do what he wants to do, gets everybody else going. But he's just not been consistent enough by scoring when he starts to get double teamed that if he's not hot, they lose to the Pelicans 146-110 on Sunday. Vassell scores 13 in that game.
Yeah.
And so you just have to be able to bring Vassell really needs to be the guy because Victor Wembanyama, we know he's going to be the guy in the future. Vassell's supposed to be the best scorer on this team right now. He's supposed to be the guy leading this offense right now.
And Wemby's supposed to be the complement.
Yeah, because he's a rookie.
Right.
You're supposed to get Vassell, and then Wemby can clean stuff up because he's really good around the rim. And the more you get him near the basket when a shot's going up, the more offensive rebounds and putbacks you'll get from him.
He's getting a lot more physical around the rim.
He is because he knows, and because he doesn't want to lose.
Right.
And I mean, if you saw them, it was not the Spurs you wanted because I get it, and I'm not showing any shade on the Spurs on this, but you could tell it was a team that lost 18 straight, and they're celebrating a regular season win like it was an in-season tournament.
They needed it, man. They needed it bad.
And the fact they were able to do it handily and it wasn't a last-second shot, but you see that and you're like, man, this team really needs to find some wins so that you don't have to celebrate every win like that. And I get it, but that's not a great. It's not a great sign for the future. They're just like, oh, well, finally.
Is it as bad as hanging an in-season tournament banner?
No, the Spurs are hanging a banner for that, though.
For that win.
Yeah, they beat the in-season tournament
winners.
They're hanging a banner.
We beat the first ever in-season tournament winners.
No, it is funny. I honestly, I don't think the Lakers want to sign it. I think you had the right take on this. I think the NBA is pushing it because they want to make it more relevant.
They want it to be.
They want it to be a
something.
thing, so they want to put up a banner. I don't think the Lakers would want to do it.
Well, I think they do because I think the players want it to succeed as much as the NBA does. So that way, when they sell it, the players
don't decide to hang the banner either. I don't think the Lakers organization.
They can push for it.
They could. I really think this was much more an NBA. Whoever wins here, we'll pay for the banner. The banner's going up.
Treat this like a championship.
Yes, because we need this to matter. I think that was you at that point. I think that's dead on. That they just the NBA goes, we need this to matter because
we put a lot into this.
And look, and you want to say the players making more money, the owners are going to make a ton more.
Oh yeah,
because this is all about TV rights, and their ratings just went up, and so they go, okay, well, we're making more and more money. Now we are happy.
Yeah, it's good for everybody if it works out and takes off.
Yeah. So I think that's what it'd be. Also, we'll say tonight the Mavericks are playing against the defending champion, the Nuggets.
Yes, they are.
Luka is sick. Derek Lively is out. Or Kyrie Irving is out. Josh Green is out. Maxi Kleber is out.
What an injury report.
Luka Doncic is probable with sickness.
Ooh.
They are now 8.5-point dogs in this. I think Luka will play, but he'll probably play less minutes. They're going to have to, at some point, start pulling back his minutes. I know he doesn't want to, and it's hard to pull out when you have that level of player to pull him out of games. But you're going to have to do something at some point because he is just really hurting himself at this point down the stretch because you just can't go at that pace, especially playing during the offseason too.
Right.
It's just such a huge pace to play 38 minutes a game and the amount of shots and times the ball is in his hand and then it's just a lot.
And if he's sick, if it's an illness that's going to keep him out, playing up there in the altitude, getting minutes like that, that's going to be tough.
Yeah. So probably not the best game for Mavs fans. It's on NBA TV tonight, though. So if you want to watch that one, see some of your bench players play.
Just check the box score later. Don't do it to yourself.
If you want to watch Jokic go inside on Dwight Powell. Because Lively's out, Cleveland's out.
That's going to go over well. Do we all know Dwight Powell is a force in the paint? We all know it.
Jeez. I feel sorry for you guys. Things ain't looking good for Dallas right now, but we'll talk more about that in the 5 o'clock.
Easy.
We'll talk more about that in the 5 o'clock.
You gotta warn me.
No, I don't. That makes it much funnier if I don't. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get to the text line. 512-447-3776. Who will score the most touchdowns in the Sugar Bowl for Texas? We are asking you. We're not saying Quinn.
Michael Taft.
Michael Taft with multiple pink sixes.
And a fumble recovery.
Yes. Is that a pickup six?
Yes. It's a scoop and score.
Scoop and score. That's what I was looking for. All right. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll get into your text on the text line. Anything else you want to talk about? Any other pods? Bring those up on the text line. We'll get to those when we come back here on the Sports Complex in the Horn 1019, AM 1260, the Horn app, and hornfm.com. Back on the Sports Complex on the Horn. Keeping it rolling with some not traditional Christmas music.
I think I got this one, actually.
You got this one?
Is that Steel Panther?
That is Steel Panther.
Okay.
That is Steel Panther.
All right.
The Sexy Santa.
Yeah.
It's a solid one.
I recognize the theme of the song and the voice kind of gave it away for me.
Yeah, Steel Panther is great.
Oh, they're fantastic.
They're good stuff. But yeah, I'm just trying to add to everybody's playlist. If maybe you just need to get some of the family out of the house at the end of the day, and you're like, oh, I got some Christmas music for you.
That's the closing time song. That's the everybody leave.
Sometimes you need it. There was.
Can we put on some music? Oh yeah, I got some Steel Panther.
Oh no, when everybody's just sitting around and they're like falling asleep in the chair, and you're like, you just go home. If you fall asleep, just go home. You don't need to be here anymore.
You don't want them to drive drowsy. Come on.
Get an Uber. Get out of here. Put the presents in the trunk and get out of here. No. At the end of the way, it's just time to go. That it's more for me. This is because I'm a terrible person who doesn't like children. Is that it's always the end when the kids are just completely sugared up and they're done with it.
Yeah.
And the parents are like, well, we'll just have another cup. Like, no, get these monsters out of here. No one wants them. Like, we're all trying to now have adult time because we're all adults. The rest of them, and there's like 2 or 3 kids that are just like, I hate life. I don't want to be here. I want to play with my toys, and then my parents keep telling me I can't open anything because I'm not at home. So I'm just going to sit around and just be angry.
They've asked
and just
if every
stare. I'm going to stare at a present for a while, and then look at you, and then be like, no,
it's not yours.
No, but they'll look and they'll be like, can I open this? And you're like, no, it's a Lego package. Of course you can't open it. So no, but that's neither here nor there. But it's something about there. Some breaking news, though, we did just see. Texas lands another one today.
Really?
Emory Windsor, the 4-star tight end from Georgia, is coming to Texas. He announced his intention to sign with Texas. So another big recruit coming to Texas for Sark. They are doing great on a Monday. Sark has got to be having a pretty good Monday.
Yeah, I would say so. And it sounds like he had a busy weekend.
He had a busy weekend. He's hanging out, going on these visits.
No, yeah.
He's got to try and keep his guys. National Signing Day is on Wednesday, I believe. So he has got, you're trying to make sure no one else flips away from you.
Yep.
So you got to go get your guys and keep them on track and going. Then you're also game planning and starting up practices this week for getting ready to start practices up for the Sugar Bowl.
He's doing a lot.
That. You're trying to get everything going. You're working hard right now for Sark, but it seems like he's handling his business right now.
Surely we can make this schedule a little easier for head coaches that have meaningful games coming up.
No.
This whole signing window and recruiting.
The transfer portal window should probably change, but I think the transfer portal window should change till after bowl games. I don't think it would hurt you that much. I know you have to do an enrollment anew, so that's why they do it, but if the transfer portal got pushed back a little bit.
Right.
So it's not just like it's open the day after you finish. So all the bad teams are like, well, now everybody's out.
Yep.
And the good teams are waiting. And you have guys like Malik Murphy who wanted to play and then apparently was even told they were like, well, if you want to, we get it, you transfer. You can still finish out the season here. Ooh. But he's like, I can't because I have to go to the other place.
Be there. And, yeah.
But they were willing to let him do it because they're like, he's done everything right. So we have full faith in him. Let's get back to the text line, though. My man Nate says, I don't want to hear that Cowboy slander. Look, there may or may not be Cowboy slander in the 5 o'clock hour. I can't I don't even know the take I have yet on the Cowboys.
Wait till you hear mine. I'm
just going to wait and let Jacob kind of, vent. And then about 7:30 when he's done venting, we'll see what my take is.
No, there will be no venting. There will be hopeful optimism. So just be ready.
Texter brings up the good point. The Nebraska volleyball team has a transfer from UT.
Really?
Yeah, they do. Nebraska.
They have transfers though. But we did it the right way.
We did it. I don't have all these.
We tried to take a player from the national championship team last year, and it didn't work.
I am curious if you asked him today if he has the same take.
Yeah, you asked him in the heat of the moment.
I know, and you should be as a head coach. You should know.
That's your job.
You should know to not say stuff like that.
Yeah, that's your job.
You should be able to say, well, they have a lot of 4th and 5th year seniors, and they're doing great, but we have a lot of great people coming back, and we're looking to win the next 2 ourselves, and do that. And you could still spin it in a way.
Just go coach speak. Props to them. They outplayed us today. Yeah. But you don't have to cut a promo against them.
No, but you don't have to go full Dabo. Never go full Dabo.
Well, nobody can go full Dabo. How many times has he made that run down that incline and never tripped once?
You know why?
Why?
Whitey tighties. He still wears them. You got to get that flexibility.
He's got that full range of motion because
Full
of his
range of motion.
whitey tighties.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man.
We also get this. Makuba is a 4-star. He was, but he's also a 3-year starter at
Clemson.
At Clemson. So we can say he was a 4-star coming out of high school. He is now a 5-star player. That's what we'll call him.
Because he's on Texas.
Because he's coming to
Coming
Texas.
to Texas is what made him a 5-star.
It makes him a 5-star.
Right, because
I
part
appreciate
of
you.
that 5-star analysis is logical steps, and so coming to Texas is what made him a 5-star.
Yes, exactly. Keep the ball away from Washington is what CPAL says. Yes, I agree. That's one of the great parts of running the ball. It's one of Texas' strengths. How you help that defense that is a bend but don't break is do not allow the other team to continue to have the ball in their hands.
You do have to be worried of what you brought up last week, though, is sometimes that keep the ball out of the other team's hands is what has kind of let you down late in games.
No, I agree. There's playing too conservative.
Right.
And then there's keeping the ball out of their hands because you're consistently moving the ball. And we know Sark, what he's done well at the end of the season is extending the run game into the passing game with Keelan Robinson and with Jaden Blue and with, getting the little short passes out and those kind of plays, or getting a little screen off to Xavier Worthy or something like that. That's kind of an extension of the run game.
Yeah,
where
keep
they're
the ball
not
moving.
Not high risk, but you're also move the ball down, you stay in bounds, you keep the clock rolling.
Yep.
Texter says, Nebraska volleyball coach, they recruited one of our players who transferred to Nebraska, Lexi Sun. Another one that's, people are coming after him today. He deserves it.
The internet's undefeated.
Yeah,
so how did you not think about that before you said it?
And you're saying Jaden Blue is going to be one. Get some probably some breakout plays against Washington. It could be.
I'd be okay with that.
I'm with that one too. I think it's going to be AD Mitchell. Not sure if Washington can cover him. He's a beast. I do think the thing with Adonai Mitchell is you wonder if they're able to guard him and Xavier Worthy, and who do they pick to guard at a certain point?
You have to focus on someone.
If you say, well, we got to put out help in the run, and we got to put a safety over on Xavier Worthy because we know they're going to him. Well, now does Adonai Mitchell get open, and he's in single coverage, and he gets out? That's a very big possibility. I'm with you, too. Rod Guy from New Mexico says there's going to be an asterisk to resist. Texas 23 volleyball champions beat down the number 1 ranked team in 3 state sets. I like that.
I like that one. Yeah, put that asterisk up there.
I think it will be Jatavion Sanders with the most touchdowns. It seems to me that it might be the easiest for Washington not to focus on, which would be bad news for them because of the amount of talent he has. And Jatavion Sanders, tight end, is a guy that if you're putting more linebackers in the run game, so if you put safeties in the run game and you kind of bring up your safeties in, that's where the wide receivers kill you. You use more linebackers to try and stop the run, then that's where Jatavion Sanders can get out. And if you try and put a cornerback on him, they'll be on him, but he's just going to, you just throw high.
Yeah, good luck.
He's going to keep going
he's
for it.
He's going to box out and catch jump balls all day.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get into some NFL and more of your text messages here on the Sports Complex on the Horn 1019, AM 1260, the Horn app, and hornfm.com. Back on the Sports Complex here on the Horn. Hour 2. Gonna get into some NFL talk. 2 Texas teams played. Both were not the most enjoyable watches. One gets a win, one gets lost. We'll get into that. We'll also talk about some other games in the big Monday Night Football matchup tonight of 2 teams that need a get-right win. Both of them looking for a big one tonight. We'll get into that. We also may talk a little baseball, get into some other talk as we get into it. Maybe a little MVP talk for football as well. Is the current leading MVP candidate not necessarily the best MVP candidate. We'll get into all of that and more of your text messages. 512-447-3776 is the text line number. We're asking a poll today. Who in the Sugar Bowl for Texas do you think will score the most touchdowns? And we're saying cross the goal line, so we can't say Quinn Ewers throwing the ball. This is just the exercise, because the easy answer is Quinn Ewers throwing the football.
Now 4 from Quinn.
Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah.
So we're not saying that. We're saying crossing the goal line. Who is going to score the most? I like this texter says BB King has the best backdoor Santa. I did not listen to BB King's. I believe Clarence Carter is the original. But I know multiple people have covered it. I've seen that multiple people have covered it. I've not seen Shiny Rips, local artist here, has covered it as well. But I'm not sure. I'll have to listen to it. Because I'm a fan of backdoor Santa.
Oh, you're getting fact checked by the text line.
No, it's not fact checked. I know BB King has a version of it.
Oh,
I believe
okay.
Clarence Carter is the original though, because the song is about when the guys go to work, backdoor Santa comes up, gives the kid some money to go away, and then the rest, and then he leaves to make sure he's yes.
I don't know. You'll have to explain that further to me sometime.
I'll explain in the breaks. Yeah. We'll have to go through the whole process. Things your dad should have told you years ago.
We'll film it.
Put it up on the website. Texters say, Mavs fans know very well about wasting your franchise players' best years. Dirk should have had 3. Warriors didn't even try to get better. They added Cliff Paul. Not Chris Paul. Cliff Paul.
Oh, that was the issue.
Yeah.
That's a paperwork issue.
The paperwork issue.
They got Cliff.
That's why he's playing a backup now. Chris Paul's a starter.
Yes, right.
Cliff Paul's a backup player.
Oh, see, that's why you double check your work before you send it off.
Yeah, that's when you add in another guy where it's just, you're like, hey, do we have the best point guard in the league still? And they're like, yeah, probably. Let's go get Chris Paul.
Let's go get another point guard.
What do you think? Point guard position. I may get into this week because we're seeing more and more of it around the NBA, that the point guard position is starting to disappear, that people do not like true point guards anymore.
No.
So the fact that the Warriors have decided to double down on it a little bit past the prime is
I wouldn't call Steph a true point guard. I think Steph's more of a scoring threat than a true point guard.
He is, but he's on that verge. But we don't have time.
Yeah,
to get
we'll
that
break
today.
that down. Yeah.
Someone asking what was the last Christmas song? That was "Sexy Santa" by Steel Panther.
Great band.
It's a great band. They also have a song called "The Stalking Song," but I'm not sure I could get away with that one on the radio.
I'd have to hear it again. I don't remember how the beginning of it goes.
Yeah, the Stalking Song. I'm not sure, but. Father Rhyme says Blue has the best first step, wiggle, and acceleration out of Texas backs. He will make the most of his share of touches by scoring twice.
Oh, I can see that. I could also see him on like a wheel route after they throw a couple of those bubble screens to the outside, send him on a wheel route, get up and around a linebacker. I can see that.
Yeah, I think that's the question is, how much can you kind of decoy them and then use them in the game, which is switching running backs when you're going to throw the ball, so that they don't know, hey, well, Jaden Blue's in the game. He's coming to the outside.
Yeah.
So we know we don't rush up the middle right now, because that's what they want. So if you know that and you kind of put him in, and then you put him in, you may even run 2-back sets at points to just kind of throw him off. But that's kind of the key when you have so many options. You're not going to switch up your wide receivers. We've seen the wide receivers that are going out there are the same wide receivers that are going out there. But your running back room, now that Jonathan Brooks is out, is going to be a revolving door. So how can you continue to make that a question in the defense's mind is going to be what's kind of going on. And Jaden Blue is one of those guys that the more you can get him in space, the better you can do. And that's with Keelan Robinson too. Jaden Blue just has that edge where he can get into space a little bit either than Keelan Robinson can. Keelan Robinson's better when you can throw the ball to him and he's already got space, and then he can continue to make people miss.
By the way, what a great problem for Texas to have. Your top running back goes down, and it somehow presents more problems for the defense.
It does. I mean, here's the reality, though, is if Jonathan Brooks is there, then we can have the discussion of, okay, well, now you have C.J. Baxter, and you can use him in there.
Exactly.
And you still have all those players,
right?
But you're going to run the ball. We know we're getting 120 out of one guy, and then you add on the rest. I don't think it necessarily helps Texas, but it definitely doesn't. It changes the game plan, but it doesn't necessarily detract the amount that losing a star player normally would.
No doubt. Texas is obviously not better without Jonathan Brooks on the field, but it is
Yeah.
funny how it presents more problems for the defense without Jonathan Brooks.
It definitely makes it a different, chess problem that you haven't as many games to figure out with. Bevo Angel says JT Sanders will go all beast mode against Washington. He'll be the key to unlocking the Texas offense against Washington. I also say with JT Sanders, there was a lot of points where he kind of got banged up throughout the season.
Mm-hmm.
Having a month off to heal up for JT Sanders may be huge to kind of get him feeling as good as he's felt since the beginning of the season. And he could have a big breakout game. He's also one of those guys that is, looking NFL, and any chance he gets, if you drop the play, he's going to want to set the tone that he is an NFL tight end talent.
He's built for it.
And he wants to go do that. Average Joe says Mitchell will score 2 touchdowns.
Hope so.
I like that one as well. We do not have a lot of people going for Xavier Worthy. No one going for Xavier Worthy yet.
That's weird.
And I get why. Because you understand, you go, well, they're going to focus on Xavier Worthy. That's going to be the guy they focused on. But I'm going to throw in a twist for you for Xavier Worthy. He returns. He can get one in the return game, too.
He could.
So we just throw in 1 touchdown catching.
That's if they kick to him.
1 receiver. But at some point, he's could break one.
Yeah.
And we technically say Keelan Robinson is on that list, too.
Right.
That could get one in there. I think Keelan Robinson, if you put in the kickoff returns that have gotten better and better and how the special teams is, that one of those guys returning the ball could be another touchdown.
You know what? I'm taking Jonte Cook.
You're taking Jonte Cook?
I'm taking Jonte Cook.
Wait, do we need to hire Backdoor Santa as a big fat poll of the day? No.
How would we phrase that, Paul?
I don't know, but I feel like we're getting too far into it. And remember, Texter is POLL, big fat poll.
Oh no.
Is it poll of we're polling the people?
Oh no.
Polling the people, POLL, not POLE. Just for you texters who keep trying to text in jokes about this. There's nothing. You guys just have dirty minds.
You took them there. You set the tone.
Look, I just said big fat poll, and they go where they want to go with it.
They came in ready for Christmas, and you took them there. This is you.
Look, I didn't play stroking. Get him in a different mindset. I'm gonna listen to it all night long though now because I've thought about it. It's great. That is a great song. If you've never heard that one by Clarence Carter.
Oh, man.
All right, let's get into the point where we're having a laugh. You ready, Jacob?
I am ready.
You ready to talk some NFL? Text line's still up, and we'll get back to it in some more text here in a minute. But I want to get through. We're gonna have to Band-Aid this one right off.
Yeah.
The Cowboys played the Bills, and it was a road game.
It was.
Which Cowboys have had some struggles with this year. They've been looking really, really good. Everybody was going in. This was a prove-it game for Dak as well against Josh Allen, where those two get compared so much. Can Dak go out and prove it? And the Cowboys just don't look very good in this game. The defense was exposed for running the ball, which we know with Hankins out has been an issue for Dallas in the past. Bills win 31-10. Dallas just never really was in this game. The Bills were able to do whatever they wanted. James Cook runs for 179 yards, average 7.2 yards per carry against the Cowboys. Micah Parsons is almost non-existent in this game, and we know he did get hit, but that was not a major injury when he got pumped into on the throw. But they kept trying to rush the quarterback, and Josh Allen only threw the ball 15 times.
Yeah.
15 times.
It's embarrassing.
94 yards. He had 24 yards running, but 94 yards passing. He wasn't the guy. They just handed the ball off to James Cook because they said, look, we're not a running team. We can't run against anybody in this league. But this Dallas Cowboys team is going to blitz us nonstop, and they're not going to stop because they're going to think we're going to stop, and we're just going to keep handing it until they stop the run, and they never could stop the run. Dak Prescott does not have the big game either. He throws for 134 and an interception in the game and gets 20 yards on the carries as well. He gets a couple yards in carries too. Doesn't have a big game for Dak Prescott. Cowboys also 20 carries in the game. They never get their run game going.
Never.
James Cook has more carries than the Cowboys' whole roster had. They get Tony Pollard had 11 for 52 yards. That was about as good as it got. No one else really did anything on the ground. Just not the performance you wanted to see of a complete team going on the road. You can put some of this on that they were just flying too high and walked into a game trying to play Cowboys game in a cold game and weren't ready to, adjust. You can put part of this on they were not expecting the Bills to run the ball and they just game planned them completely wrong, not expecting that. And you can put it on the fact that they've not been a great road team this season. And, you really want to win these games to hope to have a shot to play some home games in the playoffs, but you're going to have to win some road games now too. All these things kind of put into it. Jacob, you watched the game.
Yep.
As angrily as you did, what do you take away from this of just the game first and then what it means for the season?
So first off, in the moment, my family was scared to be around me because I was irate. And let me just start off with saying I needed this loss more than the Cowboys did. Because for a little while there, especially after that Eagles beatdown, I was getting out of hand the way I was talking about the Cowboys. So I like it from that perspective. During the game, incredibly frustrating to see nothing working. It seemed like they had the edge whenever they wanted, and I get that they were blitzing every down, playing chicken with them, basically, like you said. Hey, we're going to keep blitzing, and one of these times you're going to drop back to pass, and we're going to get Josh. Well, you can blitz to the edges, too. You don't always have to blitz through the center of the O-line, and so they just kept pinning them inside. I watched countless times the linebackers would run up and wash themselves out of the play because James Cook would just go take the edge and turn directions on them. Nothing working for the Cowboys. It was one of those days where nothing's going to get going. And it's one of those things where you finally see that the difference between playing at home and playing on the road can no longer be ignored.
Yeah.
They are 3-4 on the road, 7-0 at home. Yeah. And I was glad to see Mike McCarthy acknowledge it in postgame because he could have given us coach speak. We got outplayed today. We look at every game week to week. Every game's individual. We don't pay attention if it's road or home. We prepare for every game the same. No, he acknowledged it. Yeah. And he said, this cannot go on any further. There is a silver lining.
Okay.
The silver lining is the Cowboys secured their playoff spot earlier in that day when the Falcons lost. So, though the Cowboys are going to have to learn how to play on the road now because any hope of playing a home playoff game is pretty much gone, you now have 3 weeks to figure that out. Right? You know you can focus on solely that, and you get another test this week with Miami coming up. So great chance to bounce right back. You also know that Hankins is expected back by the playoffs.
Yep.
Him being gone, I'm not saying it would change the outcome of that game. His presence was obviously missed, though.
It was.
In the middle of that defensive line.
It was.
So there's things to be excited about, even in a loss like that. And it took me 24 hours to get there, but you start to reflect on things. And even as bad as that game was, Dak only had one pick. In years past that game, Dak turns the ball over 3 times, doesn't play the second half.
No, and I mean, in all reality, Dak only had one pick because they just didn't they didn't move the ball.
No.
So they just kept punting. So it didn't have really a lot of time to turn the ball over because they didn't get a lot of shots. They just didn't have a lot of offensive plays in the game.
It's just bad.
And we look at it too. So the offense slowed down. It wasn't good. That was, bound to happen at a certain point. You're rolling on all temperatures, but you are a one-dimensional team. You cannot run the football.
It was going to bite you eventually.
Eventually, they were going to be able to sit back and play defense and block you in the secondary, and it was going to hurt you. And we know it will, and it's going to hurt you in the playoffs. We know it is. And you're going to have to figure out, Dak Prescott's going to have to be MVP Dak to win games in the playoffs because Mike McCarthy's too much of an idiot and Jerry Jones is too much of an idiot to get a running back. Because they didn't want to go get one because they liked who they got, and they paid Tony Pollard the franchise tag. It's going to cost him a season. But I've been telling you that since the beginning of the season. It's just blatantly obvious.
You have.
It does not take a scientist to figure this out. You just go, hey, you need a running game. Just a running game. Just something. So they have that. Also, this goes again on the Dan Quinn tell system. That teams have been able to figure out Dan Quinn, that Micah Parsons, wherever he was, they said, cool, we're running away from Micah Parsons. We're just going to run, but we just run away from Micah Parsons because he's going to run right at us. So whatever way he's coming in, we just got to get past him and we're gone because he's going to rush the quarterback. He doesn't play run coverage because he's not very good at it. And I mean, he's better than a lot of guys, but if you're going to judge his skill level of pass rush versus running the quarterback, and if I'm Dan Quinn, at some point in that game, I go to Micah Parsons and I go, hey, man, they've thrown the ball like 8 times. Why don't you try and tackle the running back?
Hey, why don't you hold the line of scrimmage for a second and see if the running back's coming towards you?
Why don't we try and get away from what we're doing? Because every time, wherever you move, they know what we're doing. They know you're coming, and they know all they have to do is get around you.
Yeah.
And that tell of Micah Parsons, because he's so dominant when he can be, that teams are starting to get around it, and you're going to go play a Dolphins team with a smart coach in Mike McDaniel, who comes from the Kyle Shanahan, also knows how to beat you offense. There's just a good chance that Mike McDaniel is going to do whatever you do. If you come in with that same defense and you don't adjust, you cannot say that you don't expect that Achane is going to have 900 yards against you next week.
Well, the beauty is Miami's built for speed. Buffalo is going to beat you up.
Yeah.
And they're going to move you on the line of scrimmage. I watched for a while there, that third quarter. I just watched the line of scrimmage at the snap of the ball, and it's moving the entire time. Miami's not going to do that. Miami wants to like they want to get out quick to
They
the
wanna get
edge.
you in
They want to
space.
spread you out, and they want to hit a cutback lane, and then
Exactly.
they want to be gone.
Yeah, but that's if you have a guy like Devin Achane who's coming out and can can run and has speed, and he knows, well, there's Micah Parsons. All I got to do is get past him. And there's no one else over there. And he's not stepping back off the line. He's coming running his full speed at me, and I'm running full speed past him. So all I have to do is get past him, and I get 6 yards of carry.
Yeah, the other tough part is losing Zach Martin in the middle of that game.
Yes. Yeah, that's huge as well.
That's massive to the run. The run game already wasn't great.
Yeah.
And now you're not going to have Zach Martin. I'm not sure the extent of it at this point, but that's going to be a tough loss if they don't get him. I will make this note real quick. The Eagles, Bills, and 49ers are a combined 16-4 at home this year.
Yeah.
So, yes, the Cowboys are going to have to learn how to play on the road, but is it also possible that they've run into a couple juggernauts at their home stadiums?
No, they have. But that's the playoffs in the NFL.
I know.
That's
what I said. They're going to have to do it, but let's just...
Now, I will say, and I'm with you on this, that if you want to take the silver lining out of all of this, is the way they were playing was unsustainable.
Yes.
For a long-term run. You can't get that hot that early and take that to a Super Bowl.
You needed that.
So they needed a little wake-up call. They knew to be able to get back into it. Is Mike McCarthy the coach that's going to be able to remind them when you get to the playoffs, look at what we did this. We did this against good teams. We can go do this. We can take this on the road. We can do this. Or do they have those guys? They might.
Well, it happened after the 49ers loss in San Francisco.
They might be able to do this. They needed that wake-up call. You're going to have another one against Miami.
Oh, yeah.
Big time. You're going to have to see that, and then you should be able to win at the end of the season, get out of this season, and get to the playoffs. But you need to start thinking of this not we're the front runners, we can do what we do. You need to say we need to kind of game plan and make sure we do not become one-dimensional.
Yep.
And they can just sit back and wait, and we can't run the ball on them. And, and we can't abandon the run either.
It's like you said, with Sark wants to play just Texas football. We can't play just Cowboys football.
No, and you can't just play, Tony Pollard, unless he breaks a big one, we don't have a run game. Yeah. That's just not sustainable. Like, you have to be able to run the ball some. And if Tony Pollard's a guy, I don't care anymore. There's 3 games left in the season. What is he saving it for? I get early in the season, I didn't want him to be the primo back and carrying the ball 30 times a game because he couldn't withstand that for a season. But you got 3 games left now, and he's been carrying it 10 carries a game. He should be rested. He should be fresh because he hasn't done jack crap this whole season.
Well, I will say, with the exception of yesterday, the 3 games leading up to that, he was building. And so you kind of get that feeling that maybe the leg that he broke, so there's a difference between being back in the lineup and being fully healthy, and Greg Olsen mentioned it during the game.
It's true.
You start to wonder if maybe he's getting closer to fully healthy again.
I think he's getting back. I don't know if it matters if they're not willing to stick to it in a game that you're not really and we'll get into this because I want to get into this with the Texans game. The Texans game plays next. And it's an example of the Texans. You know what they were smart about this? They kicked field goals.
Mm.
They just played. They ran the ball with Devin Singletary and they kicked field goals. And they weren't going to blow them out, but they did. They took the points when they needed and they won by 3. They went to overtime because they kicked the field goals instead of going for it on 4th and 1 where they should have had it. And then there was another time where it was 6, and it was 6-14 or 6-13, and everyone's saying you got to go for it. You're not going to get this opportunity. And they said we're going to be able to run the ball with Devin Singletary.
Yep.
We know Dameon Pierce is not playing well, but we're going to get Devin Singletary. We're just going to keep kind of marching down, and we get our opportunity. We'll go score, and we'll play field position with them. And we'll hold them, and then we'll get better field position. We'll kick a field goal. And that kept them in the game where they were able to win it because it wasn't all or nothing, and they stuck to the game plan. And with the Cowboys, I don't think they stick to the game plan enough that when things don't start to work, then, okay, well, now Tony Pollard's only getting 4 yards. He hasn't broke one, so now we just got to throw it with Dak. Incompletion. Okay, well, now we're screwed because we ran it on 1st down. We got 2 yards, and we threw it twice, and we're out. And you don't change up any of that.
Well, and the other thing is, Dak's been so good about hit your back foot, get rid of the ball.
Yeah.
And he would hit his back foot and pat, sack. And it was like, what is happening?
We did mention Texans beat the Titans 19-16. This is a game, so as mad as Jacob was, I was also as mad when the game started.
Ooh.
Because of the Bush League move by the Titans to wear the Oilers stuff against Houston. And I knew what was happening. And I thought I was going to be kind of mad. It made me livid to watch somebody be so out of touch with society to think it's okay to do that. Because it's not, hey, well, we're going to do this and we're sticking it to one person. You're sticking it to a city of people that supported you, that made your father billions of dollars or made him millions of dollars when he did not put a good product on the field for half of the Oilers' years.
Tell them.
And then moved a team, and then you get mad at them because they didn't want to give you millions of dollars for a stadium, and so you're going to stick it to them? Look, I'm fine. Look, and I was even fine. You could sell Houston merch and get your kickbacks because you own the trademark. I get it. That's how trademarks work. Sell Oilers shirts and Oilers things to old Oilers fans, and you're still screwing us. I get it. That's fine. That's how trademarks. I'm fine with that.
Sure.
But then to go and have to get so greedy that you want to go paint up your whole stadium like you're the Oilers, like a franchise that no one in Tennessee gives a crap about, that only people in Houston care about, and the only reason you're doing it is out of spite because you're mad because your dad, you feel he was disrespected because he moved the team, which you don't do in pro. Of course you're hated. Even our Modell let the Browns still be the Browns. Can you imagine the Ravens dressing up as the Browns to play the Browns?
No, I couldn't.
Yeah, it'd be stupid, wouldn't it?
You don't cross that line.
It would be stupid.
It would.
And that was what was stupid. That's why they lost, by the way.
Oh,
because they were going up against a Texans team that was really beat up. Case Keenum gets a start, by the way. Claps to D'Amico Ryans for starting Case Keenum instead of Davis Mills. You understood that this is a winning team, and this is no longer a rebuilding. You have a chance to. You're now tied for first in the AFC South, and Davis Mills is what you do when you're trying to figure out what Davis Mills is. Case Keenum is when, hey, man, we just can't have 3 interceptions. And Case threw 1 for a pick 6. It was costly, but Davis Mills probably would have thrown more than that.
I figured you were happy when I saw that come through, when I saw Case was getting the start.
But yeah, that game goes to overtime. Texas is able to come down and hit a buzzer beater in overtime to get the field goal. Fairbairn is back, which is big for the Texans as well because Amendola was not doing great kicking in that game. Also, a missed extra point is a reason why it was a tie game too, because it was 13-6 with 2 touchdowns and a missed extra point on that first touchdown.
Oh, I didn't see that. I was doing the White Elephant Christmas during this game. I
So
didn't see
a
that.
missed extra point is a reason why the Titans lost. And if you want to know why you shouldn't wear Oilers gear, it's because you're going to get screwed like that. If you wear the Oilers gear,
you turn into an Oiler.
You're going to get it. So that's what you get. I like that J.J. Watt came over and says we get back. And by the way, I don't think that the Texans and Cal McNair should own the Oilers stuff. I get that you shouldn't just give him another $1 million because he doesn't own the Oilers. I think the city of Houston should have the Oilers.
Yes.
The city of Houston, who supported that team, who made that team great.
More importantly, the records. I heard Rod mention that this morning. Give the records back to Houston.
Give them back. And don't try and bring out Billy White Shoes Johnson and be like, look, Tennessee, here's this guy that you don't remember playing because he was in Houston.
Right.
Hey, look, it's Warren Moon. Remember when he didn't play for you?
Yeah.
None of you are Oilers fans. Why do you care?
Give them the records back. Give them the records.
It's so infuriating. And you just want to go to the owner of the team and go, is this 100% out of spite? Is this something where you were told as a financial move that you're going to make a bunch of money on the thing, and so you did that? And you're just so out of touch that you don't realize that it's a really, you don't do this in pro sports.
It's a really screwed up thing to do, yeah.
And then you sent a cease and desist to Houston football.
Really?
Because they made their jerseys, and Houston went, look, we can kind of reclaim it. And they go, no, you can't.
Oh, I didn't know about that one.
It's a terrible. Are you mad because the Texans exist and you weren't able to try and salvage the end of Houston people that you screwed over by moving the team? Awful stuff. And if you wanted people to hate you, you did it. You achieved your goal. I didn't care about the Titans. We were like, go have fun. You moved the team, whatever. Bud Adams sucks. You moved the team. But now, screw you. Screw you. I'm livid. I could not watch a lot of that game because it would make me so angry.
How long did it take to come back down?
Oh, the field goal. Field goal really
Field
helps.
goal, yeah.
And I think there's also this vitriol thing that it was the two teams it's both of my teams.
I
and
know.
they're not supposed to play each other because they're the same. I rooted for Houston football.
It's the Spider-Man meme. It's like everybody's pointing
and
at
you're
each
like,
other.
wait,
a
that's the
minute.
team I rooted for. We're not playing you, though. We're playing the Titans. Why are you dressed up as us?
Why does your stadium say Oilers?
Should tell all you people that are moving to Nashville and Memphis, Texas is still better. They're trying to be us.
Yeah, the music scene's out there blowing up too.
All right, we come back. I want to mention Ravens Jaguars, the Sunday night game. That was a good. It was a good test for the AFC to see where things stand, and also talk some about the Eagles Seahawks, the big Monday Night Football game tonight. A get right game for both teams. Who's going to be able to pull it out? We're going to go look at the injury report here in the break. And the text line's still open, 512-447-3776. I'm sure some of you think that I'm crazy for as mad as I am about this, and some of you fully understand the rage I feel. We'll take a quick break. Keep texting in. We're going to get to a little bit more NFL talk here on the Sports Complex in the Horn 1019, AM 1260, the Horn app, and hornfm.com. Back on the sports complex here on the Horn.
Have you lost your mind?
What?
Have you-
This song's been around for a long time. I'm just playing some unconventional Christmas songs for you to get you in the spirit of Christmas with some stuff that may be a little more unconventional. It's Weird Al Yankovic.
I know it is. I know
get
it
mad
is.
at Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh,
the
gosh.
Christmas
I
classic.
wasn't ready for the turn.
The night Santa went crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good stuff. He also has Christmas at Ground Zero is another Weird Al
Oh,
Christmas
boy.
song.
I'm going to have to look that one up. No, that song started playing. I looked at Patrick and said, is this going to take a turn?
Of course it is. It's on my list, right? We're playing fun Christmas songs. These are Christmas songs you can play and then see how many of them you can get into before somebody at the party's like, are all of these weird? Are none of these what we thought they were going to be? And you're like, yeah, of course they are. But just, I'm not going to play Wham or Mariah Carey. Any of that. I'm not going to play any of that. There's some stuff that's not as like, there's stuff on here. There's some stuff on here that just, it makes me laugh because it's such a like money grab for Christmas too. There's a couple of those on there that I like. So we'll just, we'll get through them all week long.
I like it. That one brought a tear to my eye. I was laughing.
That's a solid one.
I was laughing pretty good when that got going.
One.
Yeah.
Text line's open 512-447-3776. Joe, the man, the bass player from Brody Lane says backdoor Santa's big fat North Pole. Again,
Come on.
P-O-L-L.
Come
P-O-L-L.
Come.
Guys.
I don't get it. I don't get
it. It's P-O. It's a poll. We're polling the people for asking a question. The big fat poll of the day today is who do you think is going to score the most points for Texas in the Sugar Bowl? And we can't say Quinn Ewers unless you're saying he's running him in. But crossing the goal line is what we're saying.
What if he had 3 of them? What if he runs for 3 of them?
Look, as long as we're scoring a bunch of touchdowns, I'm pretty okay with it.
Yeah, me too. I'm good.
I'm not going to be too worried about it. Texter says, I told you all last week, Cowboys would disappoint. They were the most gutless team in the last 3 decades. Absolutely gutless. Jones family has no clue to win a Super Bowl, and the only idea they ever had to work was hire a coach and a GM, which is Jimmy Johnson did. F this lousy organization. It's a money machine when it used to be a championship machine. This team reeks of one and done. Be honest with yourselves. Who is Dallas beating? Okay.
I'll say this. If you're going to jump off the Dallas bandwagon now, don't come back around in January because that ticket is non-refundable, and I am sick and tired of you doomsday Cowboys fans.
Like, I get it. Like, I get that the doom and gloom. That's why you can't just get too much on them. But they're not a terrible. Like, if you were a terrible team, like the Cowboys were terrible for a long time. They're not a terrible team right now. They're just a few pieces away, and unfortunately, they missed in the first round. And Mozzie Smith may be good one day, but he's not being a contributor. He's a rookie, and he's not contributing right now.
And he wasn't expected to be thrown in this position.
No, he was. I mean, that's why they re-signed Hankins.
Right.
But I think, week 14, you'd like him to be able to contribute more than he did in this.
You'd like him to have a little bit of progress.
Yeah, but that's also somewhat game planning that you continue to let them go on the outside. But there's more to it. And I think that, like the Deuce Vaughn pick was a miss right now. It may be good down the line, but it was a miss this season. It was 100% for Jerry Jones to get on TV and get in a documentary. And I think you were too close to being good to continue to do that. But this is the reality. As much as you can say it's a money machine, the reality is all these teams that continue to take chances and go for it, like when we talk about the Warriors, is because there's an owner and then there's someone below them whose job is on the line.
Yep.
And the problem with Jerry Jones is he understands he will always own this team. And so he never wants to fully go in knowing on the backside of it is what happened after the Jimmy Johnson era. That, man, it was great while it lasted, but then I had 15 years, 20 years of bad. And I don't want those 15, 20 years of struggling again because, man, we lost money during that and things weren't good. And I had to do all this crazy stuff to keep getting noticed. And I don't want that. So I'd like to stay right at that level. And if I do that, I'm never going to leverage enough to get over the hump and do what the Rams did, which was go for it and go all in. He's never going to go all in, and it becomes difficult. Now, you can look at the Eagles and say, well, Howie Roseman's not going all in, and he continues to bring this team back, and they'll be good and then bad for 2 years and then right back in the picture. So there is ways around it, but it's more that Jerry Jones would rather the team stay profitable for the next 20 years than win a Super Bowl and then be bad for 5.
Exactly.
And that's really, instead of taking that next step.
He's selling hope. He's doing just enough to keep the Cowboys relevant.
Yeah, and so it's, it's unfortunate because I get it as Cowboys fans, you want to see it, but that's not the only, there's a lot of teams and this happens. And if, you just kind of have to get lucky at a certain point and hire the right people. And I don't know if they have the full right people in there right now. I think you missed with the running back position. You missed getting another linebacker in there when you probably could have. And if Overshawn doesn't get hurt, that changes a lot too. Because if you lay out DeMarvion Overshawn, he could have been good in this year's draft. He wasn't necessarily a miss. He just got hurt. But it's another person that was a piece that you needed on this team that you don't have.
So what I don't get is if this was a Super Bowl roster last week,
yeah,
why is it no longer a Super Bowl roster? Because it's what I said when I was talking about it earlier. It's going to be hard to put it into perspective, but it is just 1 week. I know it feels a hell of a lot worse than that, but it was one game.
No, it is. But it's the bigger question is what he said, which is who have they beaten? And do you really believe that there's a team that can handle its business against bad teams and then it's at best 50-50 against good teams? I don't think that's fully the case, but I think that there is certain teams that are willing to go more all in than you are, that have drafted better than you have in the last couple of years and have done just a couple things better than you have and gotten lucky at parts. Hey, better coaches, better, like all those things, and that's the problem.
There's nothing wrong with being the underdog. So if they did do those things better than us, which I'm sure they have, there's nothing wrong with being the underdog.
No, but I'll tell you this. This is the Cowboys. The reality of it all is, can you get to how well you were playing in the end of the season? Can you take that on the road and show that off in the playoffs? Can you recreate that and get started against Washington in the last game of the season? Can you go to Washington and get yourself amped up and put up 50 points in that game, hold them to 14, and then walk in the playoffs?
You have a chance to do it before then. You're
I know,
going to Miami.
But my point is, you don't even want to peak. You just need to be going hot fire when you get to the playoffs.
Right.
And they peaked way too early now, so you don't necessarily want to fit full peak again until, I mean, it would be great to keep winning by 50, but I think if you just can kind of walk into the playoffs and get hot at the right time and go more of that Giants route.
So are we considering the Eagles the peak, beating the Eagles the peak, and then off the edge of the cliff?
I don't think they're off the edge of the cliff. I think that this is a bad loss. Off the edge of the cliff if they keep losing.
Okay.
But we're not off a cliff yet. We're just there's a bump in the road right now because you're still have a good chance to continue to. You're in the playoffs.
That's my only argument. Is it still a good roster? If it was a good roster last week, it's still a good roster.
Yeah. Texter says, I believe you're saying you were correct about. I'm just going to take it that I'm correct about the Texans and the Titans and the Oilers.
I think you are correct on your spelling of poll. I think, yeah.
I know I'm correct on that.
Oh, okay.
I know I'm correct on that one.
Okay.
Last Christmas Song ×2. That was Backdoor Santa. Before Sexy Santa was Backdoor Santa by Clarence Carter. Several people have covered it, but Clarence Carter was the version I played. Clarence Carter is the original, I believe.
That was it was interesting.
It's a classic. This is like a song from like the 60s.
Oh, yeah. It's a nice little trip it takes you on. Yeah.
Let's see. Coach Cornuts, I haven't been able to listen all day, but wanted to rescind this in case it didn't get through earlier. Y'all haven't listened to the Philly Specials album. I did see this earlier. The Philly Specials album, definitely need to. It's an album put together by some of the Eagles players, including Jason Kelly, to help raise money for charities in Philadelphia. To listen to NFL players sing Christmas songs is one thing, but they're actually trying. And you think about these monstrous men singing as well as they do. It's really impressive. I'm not going to support Philly stuff.
I'm also not going to say impressive. I think it's great what they're doing.
I think it's good what they're doing. I appreciate you, but I'm not going to support Philadelphia. The city in itself, I don't want to.
I don't think Jordan Mailata's up for any Grammys. Let's just put it that way.
There is, by the way, if you want to Google search Troy Aikman, he sang too.
He did,
and it is awful. It is next level bad. But I think this is back in the day when they didn't think everyone would hear it. You're like, oh, I'll just do this thing, but it's like a country song. I can't remember, but yeah, I played it. I played it on Ball Don't Lie.
I wonder what that rehearsal went like. Was Troy just pissed at the band the entire time?
Well, that was probably when he wanted to get traded off the Cowboys.
His military coaching.
When he was getting mad at the Cowboys, and he was like, nope. All right, I'm moving on my singing career.
Oh, y'all don't want to move me? Well, I'll make myself, unrepresentable here in Dallas.
Joe says, is more pissed about the Oilers uniforms than you remember. They wore them in October versus Atlanta. Wearing them versus Texans was egregious. I'm glad they lost. All those cheerleaders looked ugly.
Oh,
Joe, I believe we can both be very mad about it. We don't have to have a competition on who was the most mad. I can tell you I had to turn the game off. I turned the volume off first and then had to turn the game off because I was so mad. My dog Lou was like hiding. He's just like, Dad is not happy right now.
Oh, man.
Texter says, I was at the game yesterday. Loads of Love You Blue, which made me ill. I'm a Dieter Oiler, Houston Oiler, not a Tennessee Oiler. Like that's such a thing. Grew up rooting for Dan Pastorini, Billy White Shoes, and Earl, to name a few. Fans went crazy when they introduced Earl, though, and they didn't know crap about him. Loved seeing Houston win. I'm a 6-year-old pretty petty Oiler fan and proud of it. Should have had Titans in Oiler home jersey and Texans in Oiler road. That would have been cool and huge moneymaker. Love you blue and love the late win. I mean, I have Jacob saw in my office. I have a love you blue that my parents got when they were at Monday Night Football, Steelers versus Oilers.
Oh yeah, Patrick is an Oilers fan through and through.
I have that stuff. Like I grew up. That was a team I grew up and watched with my dad. Watching early football.
It's sentimental to you.
That's what it is. And so it's I think all of us. It's a thing that again. So this is what I told Jacob before. Imagine Jerry Jones moved the Cowboys to Arkansas. He moves the Cowboys to Arkansas, and he goes, "You guys won't build me a new stadium." He doesn't get AT&T Stadium. He moves it there, and then you get another team, and you get a Dallas team, and they're playing, and you're feeling good about yourselves, and they're like not doing great because Jerry Jones owns the team, and so they get another, and you're doing good, and you go play them, and Jerry goes, "We're going retro. We're now the Fayetteville,
Cowboys."
No, we're not the Fayetteville Cowboys. We've changed the name. We're not the Cowboys anymore. We're the Fayetteville Razorbacks, and but today, Cowboys fans, you're going to be playing. We're going to be playing against the Fayetteville Cowboys.
With Cowboys uniforms.
And the whole place is going to be done up with it. And we're going to be singing it. And Troy Aikman's going to come out. And Michael Irvin's going to come out. And Emmitt Smith. Even though you didn't root for one of these people, they're all going to come out and say, man, we love it here. It would drive you crazy.
That would kill me. That would kill me.
It's terrible. This text says, of course, the Houston fans are going to complain about something like this. This happened many times in the history of sports. Look at the Warriors. Look at the Jazz. Look at the Colts. I could keep going, but there is no new. The Jazz did keep the name. They all kept the name.
Right.
They kept the name.
That's the difference.
We go the Lakers as well. They kept the name. These are teams that they changed their name. They're not the Oilers anymore. They're the Titans. And they're not the Tennessee Oilers. They were the Houston Oilers. They were the Tennessee Oilers for one season, and everybody said that's a really dumb name. There's no oil in Tennessee.
Yeah.
And they went back. You can get mad at. You can say that it's a dumb take. I guarantee you, if it was your team, you would be livid about it. And I get, the Utah Jazz is also dumb. We can all agree that's dumb that the Utah Jazz is there.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
But like this would be like the Thunder wearing Seattle jerseys. If the Seattle got another team, and the Thunder were like, no, let's wear Seattle jerseys today.
If Seattle got another team, they called themselves the Supersonics, and then the Thunder wore the old school Supersonic jerseys. Yeah.
So dumb. Doomsday fans are used to this gutless organization. I've been saying this for years. Maybe wet behind the ears youngsters who have no institutional memory should examine the history of the Jones era again. Who have the Cowboys beaten? Who have they beaten on the road? The playoff run will be blah, 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 blah. Look up this thread. Cowboys peaked 30 years ago. They will suck until they don't.
Are you telling me I don't know futility? I was born in 96. I've only known the organization that loses. I don't want to hear that. Don't give me that.
I get it. Like, if you want to make yourself feel better by being angry about it and just being like, I hate it. But if you're still texting in, you don't necessarily, like, you still want it to be good.
Yeah.
You still I get it. I get where you're upset and that it is like, well, we're not going to win the Super Bowl and it's Super Bowl or bust every year. We don't want to go into it. I can tell you there is another side to this. Jerry Jones could not care about it. Jerry Jones could just be the guy who goes out there and puts stuff out there and doesn't sign people. Jerry Jones could make this a 5-12 team every single year.
Right.
And he'd still make tons of money in Arlington.
Because it's the Cowboys.
And he'd still make all that money. And he could put out a worse product.
And you know why? He could get it off of fans like you who actually saw championships. Because I've never seen a championship. Don't lecture me on futility.
Yeah, we got Jacob worked up before the end of the show.
See, I was trying to be calm about this.
We were trying to
that one got me.
That one got me. And you will never see a Ravens wear a throwback Browns jersey. No, because Art Modell had at least, as class as Art Modell was at points, he left the Browns for the Browns. He said, this is Cleveland's thing. I understand how sports work, and I'm not going to take this thing with me. And here's the reality. I told you, I don't mind if they sell the I get it. It's capitalism. You own the trademark.
You made it. Yeah, you get to make it.
You get to sell it. Sure. If I want to buy an Oilers hat, I'm paying you.
Don't wear it when we play you.
But don't come out with us and pretend that's your history.
Yeah.
It's not your history. No one there cares. They're going to wear the lovely blue and everything because it looks better than your dumb Titans jerseys too. You couldn't even think of anything that remotely cared about Tennessee, so you had to go with Titans because I guess there was big people there once. I don't know what happened. I don't know. I'm just going to get madder and madder about this. I got to be mad now, too. We're both mad.
Dang it.
All right, we're going to take a break and cool off. We're going to cool off in the break. We're going to come back and wrap up the show here on the Sports Complex on the Horn 1019, AM 1260, the Horn app, and hornfm.com. All right. We got to get out of here. Big game tonight. Eagles versus Seahawks. Eagles 3.5-point favorites. Who you got?
I think I'm going to take the Seahawks in this one, within the number.
That makes me want to take the Eagles.
Ooh.
I don't know. It's a get-right game for both. We're seeing if I don't believe Geno's going to play. I think it's going to be Drew Lock. Jalen Hurts was questionable because he is sick, but I believe he's going to play. He's going to go out there, but you may see Marcus Mariota come in. If he is ineffective because of the illness, they're saying it's not a normal sickness. It is the flu.
Ooh.
So he could be hurt.
Yeah, he was separated from the team, wasn't he?
Which, by the way, guys, I saw this again. Michael Jordan never had the flu. There's not a one-day flu. There's not a one-day flu he had.
No.
He was hungover because the guy was gambling.
Darius Slay is also not playing tonight. Big night for DK coming up.
Big night. We're hoping for DK. We're going to get out of here. We'll be back tomorrow, break down some more Texas-Washington, give you up what happens in the game tonight and a whole lot more. But until then, be kind, be safe, keep your underwear clean. We'll see you right back here tomorrow at 4 p.m. More of the Sports Complex.